shopping today and I'll go to school tomorrow. First impressions are incredibly important.
Honey, you can make a wonderful first impression.
Brenda, how could you?
He was a jerk, okay?
I've made my choice and I choose me.
No So Connection Podcast Network listeners, welcome back to 90210 No So, Beverly Hills 90210 Podcast Retrospective Series. I'm JT, and joining me as always is my co-host on the show, Tim Capel. Tim, how are you?
I'm doing great, JT. New year, same show, but still in the first season, more than halfway through. Man, I'm just charting our progress here, and I'm feeling more and more like we're gonna make it every episode. If we can get through the first season, we can get through all 10, right?
We're gonna crush it for sure.
Yep.
We've come this far. We're against all odds. We've already smashed the over of what they thought we'd be, so we're good. We're cruising. I will say though, so my wife started listening to the show, and I caught a little shit because I didn't call her out in the Slumber Party episode, which is like her all-time favorite, and she's also a diehard fan of the show. So we did watch it in college, and then back in the days of DVDs, we ordered them all and binged through them, and that was actually how I ended up seeing like some of the newer seasons that I hadn't really seen before, or at least didn't remember, was during that time. So she's been binging through this and enjoys you. I think she prefers you to me on the show. So
okay. Well, isn't that just a spousal thing? I mean,
yeah,
she
I guess
can't,
so.
But we were very high on that episode, so she clearly has good taste.
Yeah, she does. She's like that and the whole series in general. So I just wanted to give that a call out since I caught some crap for not mentioning her on a couple of these things. She's like a big season 1 fan of, like, that's her favorite time of the show. So there you go. Yeah, there you go. But also a big fan of 90210, and we knew this from way back as well, because he is one of the original 9021 bros from our old blog of Doom. He is on this very podcast network, a co-host of You Know What That Means, an AEW podcast every other Friday. Also co-host of the NBA Team podcast on the PTV and Pop Experience with my old roommate Adam Murray, and that is Mr. Andrew Riche. Andrew, how you doing?
Hey, we're talking about Dawson's Creek, right?
Yeah, only Dawson's Creek.
No, I think that one is like 7 years ahead of this.
It is.
Episode,
So when Tim and I finish this, and then he's going to make me do Melrose, and then we'll do Dawson's.
Right. Well, the people are going to make us do Melrose.
Yeah, that's right.
Look, they just still keep running up to me in the airports all over the country saying, when are you going to start Melrose 2.0?
We'll do it, and then we'll do Dawson's. And Riche, you did a recent Dawson's episode of you heard about Pluto. That was excellent. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, well, that was funny because actually the new Scream is coming out, and the guy who created that show, Kevin Williamson, he wrote Scream. So I actually just rewatched all those Scream movies with my daughter because we're gonna go watch the new one together, and I was like, these movies aren't too bad, except for three sucks. Yeah.
Riche is like a human pop-up video if you've ever heard him on a podcast. So
yes.
Be ready for a lot of fun facts coming
Me and
your
Peter
way.
Winston. Yes.
Lot of crazy connections. You're someone who I've always said you know a little something about everything, and sometimes you know a lot about everything. It seems like so.
I'm a master of
great
some.
to have you with.
Yeah.
Great to have you with us as an original 90210 bro. 9021 bro. Excuse me.
Yes.
Going back to.
The 902 No So bro. Yeah.
Love it.
There you go. Yep. Going back
to so Andrew, like we usually do
days. Yep.
like we usually do before we get started, when we have a new guest on, we like you to take, 90 seconds or so to tell us about your relationship with the show. How did you discover it? Did you watch it in its original run? Did you find it after? Just tell us a little bit about your relationship with Beverly Hills 90210.
I found it out through the soundtrack. So
Interesting.
I did not watch I knew about the I don't want to because of the context of where you're at on the episode, I don't want to spoil what happens, but there's a very special episode of 90210 that comes out I think in the first 2 seasons. I remember that one because that was one of those God, what was that show on HBO where Ben Affleck is hooked on steroids? Don't don't do this thing. Like, it's like an after school special type of
Right,
thing.
right. Yeah.
And 90210 had an episode like that where all the kids were like, yeah, don't do that. And I remember that episode, but I remember like the Vanessa Williams, Brian McKnight song, because I love Brian McKnight. How do you talk to an angel? I remember that one. That's how I kind of like heard about it, like through music videos on MTV. And I could not stand Shannon Doherty's character. Just could not stand Brenda. That was the one thing I remembered. And then it evolved where Tori Spelling like became like she was like on the bad end of every relationship she was ever in in like the mid 90s. And Luke Perry leaves, and then Tiffany Thiessen shows up. That's actually when I watched it the most, when Tiffany Thiessen went there. That was in like the 96, 95 era. So
sounds like you're more of our generation. I don't dislike Brenda, but I think I'm gaining a new appreciation for Brenda watching it through from the beginning like this. But I've always thought of myself as a fan of more of the Valerie years. JT, I think you too. But that's something we'll have to see how our feelings evolve once we get that deep into it.
And the over-the-shoulder cast intros, never forget them. Because they were always a year older than the next ones.
Right.
I think we should film some of those for North South Connection and put it like on YouTube or something. All the hosts.
Dramatic turns.
Yeah. Spelling's like her hair got so white and blonde that it couldn't go any whiter, so it went back to dark, you know? And then they had a cast member named Vince Young.
That's right.
Yes, they did. Vincent Young, very deep.
As a football fan, I'm like, that's really weird.
So that movie, Riche, was a Body to Die For, Ben Affleck, the steroids.
Yes, it was on HBO, and he like has a big old fit where he destroys his whole house because he's hooked on steroids. And they had like this whole after school lesson of the week type of thing. And then they would have the real person say, "Yes, I did all this. Don't be like me." And there is a episode involving Brian Austin Green's character that is kind of sort of, but I'm not going to talk about it.
All right, well, we are going to talk about this episode here tonight. That is season 1, episode 14, East Side Story, aired February 14th, Valentine's Day, 1991. A little bit of a love story in here as we go through.
This episode, directed by Steven Spielberg, also.
Really?
Just had to get that.
No, but he just opted to make it.
There is one star though in this episode, superstar toward the end that we'll see.
Sure.
Yeah. All right, we start off with Brandon traveling by bike around town, looking suave. And for a minute, I thought, like, wait, is he still not driving? But he's been driving since the license got pulled, right, Tim?
Yeah, they kind of been loosey-goosey with that. We've had some speculation on maybe script order versus, like, when the show aired. But I don't know. This one was, I feel like, pretty consistent with what we've seen since the infamous house party and DUI.
So Brenda gives the lowdown that Jim's new client is a big honcho for surf gear, Chick Snyder. And so we may be getting some free swag. Brandon thinks Anna, the housekeeper and maid, may be toast because there's a big meeting going down and he's worried about it and they seem not happy. But we really find out that instead we're introduced to her cousin, which I believe his name is Rich Rodriguez. Did I get that right? Okay. So we found out Anna's niece Carla is having trouble in her school due to gangs and drugs. So she'll be using the Walsh address and be attending West Beverly. And they just want to give the family kind of the heads up of what's going on. So Uncle Rich is in the house. Anna's not getting fired. Carla's going to West Bev. Andrew, what did you think of this quick setup scene just to get us rolling?
It goes pretty fast getting to that point with the cousin. You don't actually see the cousin named Carla yet. That's later on. But the only thing I thought just as funny was about the name you mentioned is that it's really hard to trust a character who's named Richard Rodriguez because that's the name of the Night Stalker.
What are we doing?
Also, the football coach who sucked and was good at West Virginia,
who
right?
said I will never leave West Virginia, and then he left for
not
Michigan
trustworthy.
a month later. Yeah,
not trustworthy.
I thought that Richard Rodriguez. This may be an inappropriate comment, but so be it. I thought he kind of looked like a Hispanic Mel Silver, who we have not met on the show yet. But I was like, my point is, I kind of did a double take because I was like, hey, wait a minute, is that? Oh no, there's no way. So yeah, he's he looked similar to another actor we will meet on down the line. Interesting open here with the Walshes embroiled in what turns out to be this fraudulent enrollment conspiracy
Yes.
with their housekeeper's family, and it's all very hush hush. We'll find out why, like, at the very end. But the way they handle this from the jump, I feel like is just a bit suspect.
Right.
And we'll try to unpack that as we go along here.
A little sus, as the kids say. So we go to school. David's working the phone lines in the DJ booth. We don't get to hear much of it, but he's like trying to get through, I guess, to MC Hammer, but he gets stonewalled. We'll find out more about that again too as we go. Donna said David's out there, so a little slight, like maybe one tiny seed getting planted there. We get Dylan and Steve in the hallway are just fucking the shit out of Carla. She comes down. They're all in, and Brenda's kind of like, what the heck? And Brandon comes over. He shits on Sacramento as a city. Then he meets and swoons on Carla at the Blaze and introduces himself, but Carla plays dumb a little bit in front of Andrea, kind of not really giving too much info that she knows Brandon and who she is, et cetera, et cetera. And, it's obvious, too, right out of the gate that Brandon's got some feelings for her. He wants to help her because he says, I know it was tough to adjust here. So Brandon's flirting heavy, and they kind of show off Carla a bit, too. Like, she's really impressive. She's crushing it at school. And they're kind of making their initial introductions to each other and what they're about. And Carla's defensive about it. Like, Brandon says, you can get a scholarship anytime you want, and she's like, why? Because I'm a minority, and like goes off on that. And he's like, no, like, listen, chill. Like, I just mean you're super freaking smart. I just been with you for a day, and you're like unbelievable in class. And you can tell she's very defensive on all this stuff, Tim.
Yeah, so she's depicted as like this knockout who's turning heads left and right, but when we meet her, she's super standoffish, and obviously there's more going on behind the scenes than we are privy to. I do think it's pretty funny that Brandon immediately jumps to, you're a genius, because she's like into class participation. Like,
well,
I guess
here's the funniest part. So, like, the first thing they say, well, I have to tell you, she keeps to herself. And it's like, yeah, I'm watching her in class. She definitely doesn't keep to herself.
She does not.
She talks in every class, and she's like speaking in fluent French. The other thing I learned, and I learned this from Jesse Spano around the same time, if you're a female in the 90s in high school and you want to sound really smart, just say the word misogynist.
There you go. Yep. Especially 1991. Goodness.
Right.
So, Branda's, and this is where already I'm getting like weird signals that the Walshes, especially in retrospect, once we know what's really up, that the Walshes really did not handle this well. Like, okay, there's this girl, she's going to be using our address. She'll be attending West Bev, but you're not going to actually meet her. In fact, you're not going to know who she is until you make introductions at the school, which is already feels like a bad setup, right? Like, shouldn't they know who the hell this girl is if she is using their address, and like there's a risk of maybe blowing her cover? So I don't know why all the secrecy, and it's like, ooh, who's the new girl? Oh, this is, and they put two and two together that way. Like, give the kids a heads up or something. Like, have a little meet cute before her first day of class. Like, this is just ridiculous.
Yeah, they have not put them in a good spot at all to be helpful to her or themselves. So
I can go back to a personal story. It's so embarrassing, but I'll tell it to you. So I go to the lakefront. I'm a senior in high school, and I meet a girl, and she's cool. And my friend wanted to get with her, and I was like, and then he was like, oh, why don't you, maybe you could talk to her. I'm like, nah, not really my type. But there was a moment where I was thinking about it. I found out later it was my second cousin.
Dodged a bullet.
Oh no.
I know. Oh. I don't know if anyone. Well, I'm not gonna ask if you had experience with it, but I will say that it didn't happen. I don't think it was happening, but it wasn't mutual. But it was one of those things where it was
wow.
Oh my god, if I actually went for it, how awkward is that?
Yeah.
Well, you didn't know.
Holy shit.
Plausible.
But yeah, someone should have given Brandon the heads up. I agree with that.
So Carla calls Brendan muchacho during one of these scenes in here.
Honestly, they should have told Brandon it's a
Right.
distant cousin.
Right?
Could have
Because you
avoided
know
a
he's
lot
going to go for it. Yeah.
of the conflict here.
So Carla and Muchacho go to the Peach Pit. He introduces her to everyone. And Brenda's got the chick catalog, so she's taking orders on the gear. Steve tells Brandon, Carla's into you. And Carla takes him on a trip through East LA. So Brandon obviously is driving here. Carla still through all this is very defensive about her family and her people. They have a debate about how Carla's perceived and how her issues may be in her head and not real. Again, being defensive. And Brandon just wants to simplify things. He's like, I'm just here to help you. Like, that's it. Like, chill. I just want to help you get acclimated. I'm not here to accuse you of anything. I just want to know about you. So they get home, and outside the apartment or the house is Uncle Richard Rodriguez creeping out on the stoop, and he is not happy that Carla's late. He is very pissed off. So what do you think of this next date, Andrew, with Brandon and Carla as she drives her home from school and Uncle Richie's hanging outside?
Well, first of all, Brandon can really put the Mac on. I gotta say, like he could turn on the charm. So when they're getting to the point where they're at the door and everything, it's like, yeah, I could see a situation where Carla probably could have fallen for this guy, even for a night. So that made sense. But I mean, I'm not giving away the award yet, but one of the candidates for sure for most 90s moment has to be shadowy figure in the distance looking over, making out people. With the wide
Uncle Rich. Creepy Uncle Rich.
Uncle Rich Rodriguez. Head coach of West Virginia, Uncle Rich Rodriguez.
Night stalker here.
It was awkward, but it was lit well. The actor himself, I could not put my finger on. I didn't know who he was.
He looked like every guy who was in every USA made for USA movie.
Or every bad guy in Miami Vice, right?
Yeah. It's like that guy. Yeah.
Totally. I do think this was a very Brandon moment to basically tell this girl who is kind of giving him the Cliff's Notes of her life story and explaining to him, this is my lived experience on a daily basis. I think it's all in your head. Like, that's kind of shitty and patronizing of him, but I don't know. Again, 1991, it is Brandon. These shows, these spelling shows, I find are often quite fond of having a white person drive a minority around through their neighborhood and have the minority explain to the white person racism, basically.
Well, didn't we see it already in this this show? Like,
I feel like we did.
Was it Cindy got driven around, right? At one point? Yeah.
With Anna, yeah.
Yeah, somebody needs to call Fox News because I saw a caravan in this episode.
And like Melrose Place is going to do this in their first season.
They clearly didn't close the border in 1991 Beverly Hills.
No. I mean,
all right, so we go back home. Brenda says Brandon has a look of desire in his eyes. Says people are starting to talk about them. Every girl he meets is the next true love. So I feel like that was a little wink, behind the fourth wall. Brenda and Brandon have a fight about her having a perceived issue with a mixed race relationship, which now is Brandon getting super defensive because he's like, well, what does that mean? You want me, to be with someone who's not white, basically. So Brenda gives Jim the chick list, and Brandon asks Anna if she can bring Carla to school, and then he'll drive her from the Walsh house so she doesn't have to take the bus. So not much going on here, but just again more pushing forward that Brandon is into Carla, and he's trying his best to what he thinks is be helpful. But again, because he doesn't really know the truth, he's getting a little frustrated because it seems like everyone's in his way.
Yeah, and because Carla keeps alluding, it's complicated.
Right.
Right. They never get around to it.
And again, just underscores the fact that the kids either needed to be let in on what was really going on here, or they needed to use a better cover story, because they genuinely are trying to be helpful. And they make a suggestion that, I mean, on the face of it, makes all the sense in the world, right? Yeah, it's just save everybody some time. We're all going to the same place, and they're having to dance around. Oh, this is why we can't do that. And there's more manufactured drama with Brandon getting on Brenda's case, thinking she has an issue because of the racial overtones of this, which obviously Brenda's not going to give a shit. So that doesn't really go anywhere. But
and it's interesting
how
the parents do bring that up. Like they say,
Uh-huh.
I think we should just say something. And I think I can't remember if it was the mom or the dad said, yeah, but we made a promise we wouldn't say anything. So they kind of closed that loophole storyline wise.
True. Yep.
All right, so we're back to school. David's still fucking up the calls to MC Hammer.
Try to call MC Hammer's management. Yeah, from school.
This is where we actually find out what's going on. So Steve sees Scott, who he calls Sam, which was funny.
See ya.
And he reveals that David's trying to get MC Hammer to play the prom. So he's trying to make a big splash as the school DJ and get the Hammer Man in to play prom. So we'll see if he can do that. Andrea asks Brandon about his relationship with Carla. She noticed the address on her file is the Walsh house, and Brandon's like, forget what you saw, like stop fucking snooping around as always. And Andrea agrees, like, okay, yeah, I won't. And then she presses him, and Andrea says, be careful, right? Because she knows she's running the same game. She's running the same con. She's using her grandmother's address to go here because her home kind of stinks. And actually, that was another one, Tim, right? Where Brandon goes to stalk Andrea and goes to the bad part of town too. So
yeah,
it's like the third time we have seen it. And Brandon admits he's attracted to Carla, and Andrea said she just wants her GPA, and that's it. So, I thought this was fine with Andrea. Like, I actually thought it was, nice of her to bring in the whole, like, reality. Like, she's going through this. You can't be willy-nilly with it.
Yeah, I was right there with you, and it's just a nice reminder that, okay, Andrea also lives out of district, so just cluing in viewers who might be new to the show, still the first season. And she does sort of have a good point that if this chick gets busted, there could be some kind of crackdown maybe, and Andrea gets some blowback herself. So, just kind of putting the screws to Brandon. Hey, don't blow this for her. Don't blow it for me.
Right.
By proxy.
Yeah, don't start putting a magnifying glass on this type of stuff.
So I dropped into this portion of the first season. Is it normal? Has it been like a continuing thing that Andrea and Brandon treat the school newspaper like the New Yorker?
Yeah, pretty much right out of the gate. And they also use it as like their own secret like flirt room as well.
So what was the fallout of the Coach piece? Piece on Coach.
So Andrea takes it a little bit more seriously than Brandon does, but she does have a line early on where she says like it's the top high school newspaper in the country or something, which is that even a thing? Like, especially in 1991, are high school newspapers gonna be nationally ranked in some like it just. She definitely takes it way too seriously. But
my favorite movie ever, one of my favorite movies ever, is All the President's Men. So I love me a journalistic film. But this is like, dude, you're a high school newspaper. Like you can settle down on how many punctuation errors there are in the piece.
Oh, it's gonna get even more intense for them too, especially when they the high school and college with the papers. So.
Oh yeah.
All right, so Brandon wants a date with Carla, but she's stonewalling him. She's ghosting him. He picks her up at the bus stop when she wasn't expecting it. He's keeping on the full court press. He's trying to get some details on the school switch. Anna wants no part of this shit. She's basically leaving the fuck alone. Brandon says just one chance, and Carla says, well, do you like to dance? And we all know Brandon has already been established that he does not like to dance, but they show up at the community rec center, and there's some kind of 90s style, was like line dancing, but not really going on.
Okay, all right. I watched this on Paramount Plus for Amazon. There is not Latino music playing when I listen to this. It is like straight up country rock music. But I watch things with subtitles because I have ADHD, and the thing says Latino music playing. I'm like,
well, it is. So the actual song was "I Like You" by Culture Beat. So
okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah,
this is not played. So they're all in step to like something that has no sync with the song that I'm listening to.
Right.
And
it
also
definitely looks like a cowboy bar.
And also Brandon coming in cool with the Alex Wright dance.
Well, he says, he's like, I suck at dancing, and Carla's like pushing him, and she's like, look, you wanted your chance, this is it. So he hops in, and yes, he makes Elaine look like Fred Astaire, this one.
You know what, I thought it was downright courageous of Jason Priestley to show this kind of vulnerability so early in the show. Like, I have in all caps written down in my notes, we see why Brandon doesn't dance. It's like, I don't think this is someone who can sort of dance like trying to dance badly
Right.
as an actor. Like, he seems like he really cannot.
You think that's why they made the character not be able to dance, because he really couldn't, so they just like played it up as a character trait?
I feel like that's true. I feel like he's on record in like one of those, Beat 17 magazines, whatever, like in the 90s, like, yeah, I really can't dance. So I thought it was important to
And also,
make
I guess
that
it's a play
authentic
on
to the
the
character.
episode title, the fact that they're doing sort of this like big time choreography type of line dance type of thing.
Right.
It's like
Yeah.
a musical, the Jets and the Sharks type of thing.
So then
Which
they
looks absurd.
right, and that's
It
what they try to
does.
play up. Yeah, obviously they try to with even the name of the episode, right? East Side Story. They try to play that up. So they go to a secluded area over by the skyline. They're making out. We get the little I don't know how to explain. It's the Mexican style stock music with like the rattling noise in it, like the rattlesnake noise that they play in these songs. And then Uncle Rich is staring in anger, so he's everywhere. He's watching over them.
Yep.
I thought they were like by the friggin' Hollywood sign for a minute, but I guess they were near the house because he's there. Or do you think he's following them? Is that supposed to be what it was? It was very
Could be.
Yeah.
Could be that he's just tailing them. Because if she's late the first time and he's like just sort of looming on the porch, she's late again. Maybe he's taken to actually following her.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know that geographically we're real clear on this, other than we're still on, the east side, I guess.
Right. So Jim is at the house and he's doing like the worst sit-ups I think ever done by man. He's really struggling doing these sit-ups. Cindy's fretting over the dinner party that's to come here for Chick. And then we get Cindy asking Jim, he's like, should we say the truth about Carla? Brandon's into her, and Jim's like, we just can't do it. We swore, we made a promise, we can't do it.
Right.
So they decide not to. We go back to East LA where Brandon brings breakfast to Carla, but she says it's not a good time. He tries to sweet talk her a bit, but Uncle Rich shows up, of course, and he's friendly. He's not a dick, but he says Carla doesn't have time for breakfast, so hit the fucking bricks, Brand. So Andrew, what do you think of these couple scenes here?
You could tell the tension there,
Mhm.
so we feel like you could tell that Brandon is getting closer to the truth. But Carla's sort of fighting off what is actually going on. And I think there's a small conversation between Uncle Rich and Carla where it's almost a sense of like they're both in on what's going on. But it's not, so you're thinking, because the whole idea when you're as the episode starts, you're thinking, oh, Uncle Rich is like a drug dealer, or he's like an abusive father type of thing. But the interaction that they have is very casual and like almost like business-like, and you kind of start wondering, it might not be this like stereotypical type of thing. Maybe it's maybe they're acquaintances that are just like forced to stay together type of thing.
Right. What do you think, Tim? At this point of Uncle Rich, did you think it was just like a standard story, or?
Well, I'm wondering, like, are they going for some kind of prostitution ring type gimmick where she's like in witness protection or something? Like, and I didn't really have a good angle on him, just because the way he was presented at the Walshes was one thing, and obviously he has this casual relationship with Carla. I'm like, is he like supposed to be her pimp or something? So I didn't know where the hell they were going with this. And when all is said and done, I'm still not entirely clear why all the smoke and mirrors, because it's just, especially the way that the dinner party kind of gets wrapped into things. Like, it's just such an unnecessary.
The dinner party's hilarious.
Oh yeah,
it is. It turns out to be hilarious, but it's such an unnecessary entanglement to this whole plot.
All right. Well, let's get there. So Brandon and Steve are trying to figure out what the hell's going on at the Peach Pit. Dylan shows up for his cameo. Like, we have not seen him really at all in this episode. But he's hoping for some sweet gear at this party. He's a Chick fan. He wants the gear. Brandon didn't even get to invite Carla, but we find out when he gets there that she's working the event anyway. So Cindy tells Anna, Carla's very talented, and this must be a nightmare for her. But so again, we're kind of getting hinted at. Does she mean just working this event? Does she mean in general? But we're not led into much more than that. So Brandon comes home. He finds out Carla's working, and he asks her, like, how can you work this gig at my house after our night together? And he just goes in, guns blaring at Cindy, like, I don't want my friends serving me in my own house. So she's like, well, look, you serve your friends in the peach pit. And he's like, well, that's different. That's not my own house, and this is bullshit. He's steamed as fuck right now about what's going on. So, I mean, Tim, was this the usual Brandon overreaction, you think, or was it justified?
Actually, I kind of saw Brandon's side to this one. Like, yeah, it is kind of fucked up that they're making her work this family function. I mean, it'd be one thing, I guess, if they were not acquainted, but having seen how close Brandon has gotten to this girl, somewhat against their wishes, but I mean, it's not like they've expressly forbid him from seeing, Carla or anything. I think they should have had a bit more awareness of the situation and been like, look, this is kind of fucked up. And again, as we will learn, there's no reason she needs to work this thing in the first place. Like, if anything,
or even if she does, though, just say, like, look, Anna doesn't run a big catering business. Like, this is a big job for her. She needs some help, so her niece is helping her. To me, it's a simple explanation if you want to do it,
Right, and then Brandon has his blow up. Jim kind of reads him the riot act.
He gives him the.
There's also
Jesus,
there's also kind of no reason Brandon has to be there.
Right.
I know that Jim is trying to paint a certain picture for this big new client, but I mean, the guy is not going to give a shit that, like, just say, oh yeah, I've got two great kids. My son is working tonight.
Right.
He's a fashion designer. He's probably on cocaine anyway.
What does he care? Yeah, what could he possibly care? It's just, it's all sorts of ridiculous complications here because of this dinner party.
I think we need to give more props to Brandon for taking such a strong stand for all suffering Latinos by taking his name off the guest list.
Not the first time for him too. So
take my name off the guest list. This is irresponsible.
For protesting this family dinner party.
So Jim gives him the come to Jesus. He's like, look, this is super important. You need to chill. So Brandon stands down. He promises he'll play nice. But really, he's just like brooding the whole time. Brenda says Chick wants to take pictures of him in the gear. So that already sounds creepy as well. Like her and her hot friends are going to put on the gear for Chick. You got Carla working the room. She's got the appetizers. Jim's trying to be cool. Things are kind of chugging along okay. And then Chick makes a comment about basically wanting to ban Carla. He's like, when he sees her. And Steve and Dylan over here. And they're like, good thing Brandon didn't hear that shit because he would have lost his mind. Damn, so then Brandon wants Carla's help getting the chairs from upstairs, but it's just an excuse to get her up there to make out, but she is not pleased. She does kiss him and then just rips into him about not needing his protection. So, again, Brandon's continuing to escalate here. I guess let's go through the party and then we'll get your guys' thoughts. So, Anna bitches out Carla for not showing respect because she went upstairs, and Brandon is just like giving every evil vibe possible. Sour pussing, angry in the doorway. They do the group pick, and he's mean mugging in the group pick for Chick with the gear on. Chick then talks up his new factory in Mexicali. He's bragging on all the cheap labor and the language barrier. And here comes Captain Social Justice as usual, Brandon. He hears about it. And we're thrown back to the episode earlier in the season where at the restaurant and all that, where he's going off about exploitation. And he's flipping out at, in front of Jim, right in front of Chick. He's yelling at Jim, basically, about it. Jim snaps at him to apologize. And Chick's like, I don't give a fuck. I'm a fucking billionaire. Like you said, Riche probably on coke. He's like, yeah, he's probably right. And then just like quells the issue. Carla leaves the party. Brandon wants to go after her. Anna stops him. Shit's getting super intense now. And then we do find out that the party was successful, though, afterwards. So we'll get to that in a minute. But, Riche, what did you think of the whole everything at the party up to this point?
The fashion's hilarious. I mean, we'll talk about that at the end. But there's just, I mean, some of the shirt and pants choices are just, and the gown choices are just hilarious. Took me back. The other thing, I like you had talked about how abrasive or how like out and out the fashion designer was talking about this the cheap labor. Like it was just so funny to like throw that. I mean, I get it. It's a TV show. So you just have to throw something in there so that people like, oh, this guy is like a scumbag. Like in real life, I don't see Phil Knight going to fundraisers going, ha, I opened 20 more sweatshops in Korea.
Right.
We're going to get those Air Jordans out in no time. So this idea that he's just sitting here like, just telling everybody, I got all this cheap labor in Mexicali was just hilarious because, you can go to jail for that. But
I guess at that point, maybe it's a little more accepted. I don't know.
The other funny part, and you mentioned it, is at the very end is that, and thank God my dad I had 3 siblings. My dad had 4 kids. So we weren't always like, there was always a black sheep somewhere who ruined some kind of get together or something. Always. One of us was an asshole. We were all pretty good kids though. But thank God my dad never did this. But James Eckhouse's character, what's the dad's family name?
Jim Walsh.
Jim does
Big
this.
Jim.
Jim goes, yeah, the party was a success, with one minor exception, and they all stare at Brandon. If my dad ever did that to me, I would be crushed.
I'm just shocked that he considered the party a success. I mean,
Right.
I feel like there's little social faux pas that happen, at these types of events, but that was like a major blow up. It's one thing for Brandon to do this and basically read the riot act to his brief employer at the Nitro Grill or whatever that place was in that third episode or whatever, but this is like one of his dad's new super clients, and it is just wildly inappropriate, right? And what's the deal with this chick guy? Anyway, is he supposed to be like a 1991 Ed Hardy or something? Like just
Like a
I think
jerk.
it's like surf gear, right? He makes or whatever.
I think so. Yeah. Based on the fashions that we see, which are pretty outrageous. Which that'll be a lot to get into. Just that whole vibe is fascinating. But again, none of this actually needed to happen because Brandon, number one, didn't actually need to be there. Carla also did not need to work this event. So it's all just very confusing at the end of the day.
Yes, I mean they're celebrating after with Brenda. Brandon's cleaning up the chairs, and Brenda gets left alone to deal with her emo brother. Jim and Cindy are like, we're out. And Brenda says, Brandon, you've been unbearable all week. You have no sense of humor. Like, you're miserable. And, Richard, by the way, Uncle Rich, was waiting outside the whole party. So you may want to go figure out what the hell's going on. So Brandon's like, I want this friggin' info. So he goes to Jim, and Jim said, you're lucky. Chick has a good sense of humor, and things are okay. And, what he wants to know, what is up with Brandon? And Brandon basically says, I want the truth. What is going on with this Richard guy? And Jim says, I just can't do it. I got to keep a secret. I made a promise. If you want the information, Carla's the one that's going to tell you.
And,
so, yeah.
And wasn't it, what didn't Brenda say it was Luke Perry's character that noticed that the car was out there the whole time?
Yeah, I think he said
and
Dylan said.
It's just so him. It's like, yeah, I was smoking weed with him outside the whole time.
Right, yeah. Nice guy.
Yeah, right. He probably got the whole lowdown.
Right. He probably knows the whole story. He's just going to spill it out to Brandon later outside the porch.
So Brandon goes back to East LA. Anna says Carla's gone and she ain't coming back. But it's okay because she's no longer in trouble. She's back with her family. And she would like to say goodbye to Brandon. So Brandon shows up at a park. There's a big family reunion going on. Carla comes and gives him a big hug and reveals what's going on about Victor Montez, her father. And she had to move to East LA last week. Anna was her babysitter back home, and she saw 2 guys open fire on a house that killed a 4-year-old during a gang fight, and they had to put her in witness protection until the case went to court. Richard, Uncle Rich, is actually a prosecuting attorney, and Carla is the star witness. So they had to hide her so they didn't try and kill her before the time to testify. The killer named Sleepy confessed, so... Carla's off the hook, and she can go home to her own house, her own school. She ain't some poor girl from the barrio. She's not looking for a white knight. They didn't have a they had a fairy tale briefly, but she's gonna go. Brandon is like melting the fuck down right now. He's like, you're making it more complicated. We can figure it out. We can make it work. We're not that different. And she's like, look, it ain't gonna work. Like, forget it. And he finally gives in. And they say they'll meet up again someday. So this continues the story of like Brandon desperately trying to find the one, and everyone he finds is the one. And again, another one's not going to be the one. So I thought they did a pretty decent job of like tying this together and making it make some sense, like why Richard would be so paranoid that she's out. He's worried that she's going to get iced, right? And then loses the star witness, and another one goes down. So it all kind of makes sense. It's just, it was kind of a weird winding road to get here.
Yeah, I think it explains the Richard character pretty well, but beyond that, like everyone else's motivations based on what they know and what they don't know. Talk about sleepy. I think the writers were asleep at the typewriter here for a lot of it, just because it's like there's so many other cover stories that they could have used. Like,
right.
I don't know. Just say that, oh, this is a very temporary situation. And the whole deal with having to use the Walsh's address, I feel like if she's in a legal entanglement here where it's like she's in witness protection, like they're going to figure out a way around that with the school that doesn't involve let's commit fraud temporarily, basically.
Right. So that's what I didn't get. Why didn't Rich go to the school and be like, unless he didn't
don't know.
Unless he didn't want to take a chance, I guess. There's
just so many other better ways, I think, realistically, that this would have been addressed. But it's a teen soap opera, so this is kind of what you get. Just for the sake of, again, very manufactured conflict, which I think this episode had more than most that we've seen.
What do you think of the payoff, Andrew? Yeah.
I actually like the idea from a story standpoint that Brandon actually came to a realization that his like being abrupt and being so like bombastic about standing up for Carla actually almost blew her cover when he realized that she was in witness protection. So it almost gave him this like small sense of guilt when he really found out what was all going on.
Right.
He actually had a really good line when they first meet up, which actually kind of, if you look at the framing, it looked like When Harry Met Sally kind of thing, like where the one was on the left and one was on the right. And he said something to the nature of, I think, of, if we're not going to be together, at least you owe me an explanation. And and then they kind of go into a fade where they start talking and walking, and it's complicated plot is completely splurged out in the last 5 minutes, which is just like Tim said, so 90s TV writers, like LA Law or something, where it's like, yeah, let's just give everything away in the last 5 minutes because we're running out of time.
We got to wrap it up. Yep.
Right. And then I will say the acting by Jason Priestley is really good here. Like, I thought he was like, he had some emotions there. Like you could feel it was kind of heavy. And there's a really nice one where he goes like, I didn't really know you at all, did I? And she says, more than you know. So that was kind of cool. Like, I thought there was some okay dialogue here. You could almost feel like you almost felt sorry for Brandon, but you also thought in the back of your mind, now looking back, man, Brandon really like almost fucked all of this up.
Right. Yeah, well, that's why Uncle Rich was so pissed off, right? And angry, yeah. So, all right, we go back to the school to end with a little levity after the heavy storyline, and Kelly and Donna show up, and they're in the same outfit, the same chick outfit, and Kelly ain't happy about it. She's like, why? Of all these outfits, why did we pick the same one? And Brandon says, you know what, Andrea, like, I regret kind of how I acted, and, I'm glad I got you. You're real. You're honest. We're comfortable, and it's a good thing we're not attracted to each other, so we could always be good friends. And this was just like, just a slap in the face.
She got boxed into the friend zone. Yeah,
who we know is into Brandon because we heard it at the slumber party at our last episode.
Yeah, we got the infamous admission. Yeah, she confessed it, not to Brandon, but
yeah. Gabrielle Cartieres is now the president of SAG.
Yes,
she is. Yep.
She was the one who banned Donald Trump.
There's your win right there. There you go. Yeah. So, all right. So poor Andrea's got to shake that one off and move on. David makes one last attempt at MC Hammer, but it's the wrong number, so he gets hung up on. But he realized what the person who answered said when he answered was it was Debbie Gibson, and it was. She was actually in the episode. He realizes it and calls back, and he's kind of stammering to her. Very random, but kind of a funny way to end. I thought was a heavy episode. It was a weird episode. A lot of the anger from Brandon I thought felt forced this time, not as earned as usual. The payoff was intense. Brenda and the girls again, kind of playing comedy sideshow, which has been a role Brenda's been in more often than not throughout this episode, throughout the season and all these episodes. Jim's got a big client, but really not much else. And we had a great outing last time, and this felt like a spinning wheel, kind of a slide down Tim off of that. And we don't get too many of this where like the whole show, like 95 almost percent of the episode was about this one story. And everything else was kind of jammed into the rest. And even then was tangentially attached to the story. So, and it didn't hit. If you're going to do that, it's going to hit. And this one didn't hit.
Yeah. I was going to say barely any B plot to speak of. I mean, the stuff with David and MC Hammer is just, I mean, it really doesn't even qualify as a subplot or a side story. It's given so little screen time. But what we get instead, I think I would agree with you. It suffers for relying on a pretty convoluted plot for its character conflict rather than those character dynamics arising out of a more just realistic situation, right? And that's where I think this show has really shined, has been depictions of teenage life that, you know, for the early 90s were pretty relatable. Obstacles that high school students would face in their everyday interactions. And
unapologetically so, right.
Sure, yep. And just using that as your springboard. Whereas this is like, who the hell deals with this kind of shit? Like, I mean, even in it's not just because of the Beverly Hills setting. It's something that ordinary people, like, this does not just land in your lap and go in the directions that it goes in this episode. It's just so all over the place. So yeah, definitely a weaker installment, I think, especially coming off of our recent highs. But I guess that's the first season for you. It's
right. We've had more highs than we expected, so it's hard to complain.
We have.
Really. Yeah.
We have, yeah.
This was more of what I expected out of season one.
Yep. I would agree.
Okay. All right, let's get into our awards then. Best scene to me was definitely the dance party at the rec center. Well, Frig, never mind. It's the party. It's the Walsh party.
Yeah, you get a lot with that Walsh party. I will back you up there. All the fashions and all the characters on display in the same place. I don't know. Yeah. What'd you think, Andrew?
I'll go 3 for 3. Yeah, I thought the dinner party was just funny. It was just like, it wasn't even nostalgic. It was just like
absurd.
It was like campy, like, but it kind of takes you back. Like, you need something like that as a time capsule when you watch it, and you're like, oh, okay, this is kind of retro. And and also big things happened, and a lot of feelings were had, and you know, you get all that stuff. You know, I like the park scene too, but that I think would take another award.
It was like Dinner for Schmucks.
Right. I love that movie.
All right, most important scene, and there wasn't a ton of long-term importance in this episode, but I went with Brendan putting. I gotta find a better way to say their names. I always mix them up. Brandon putting Andrea in the friend zone.
Ooh, yeah. I'm gonna back you up there again because it just hits harder knowing what we as viewers know that Brandon doesn't. Like, I mean, you could infer that Andrea had a thing for Brandon, but coming off of that slumber party episode where she really lays it out there, yeah, okay, if I'm gonna hook up with any guy, it would be Brandon. There, I said it. She's so embarrassed. Like, where does that leave them? Where do they go from here now? And just adding to her humiliation, really.
Yeah, because it's not like it's a hindsight thing. Like, oh, we know what's going to happen. Like you said, like, I mean, they told us directly she's into this guy. So, but you would think at this point they're setting them up for a future, like a Sam and Diane thing, right? I mean, the way they tease the flirtation, we know one's into the other. Brandon comes out and says we're just friends. So at this point, it feels like that's where this is going, right? That this is going to be the long-term relationship between these two.
Plus, with Brandon practically flaunting all of his little flings in one episode after another, and Andrea having some little side comment about it, it definitely feels like they're creating this dynamic where he's oblivious and she's madly in love with him, and they've got to somewhere meet in the middle, I guess, if there is a middle.
What do you think was most important, Andrew?
So forgive me if I misinterpreted it, but I felt I kind of saw it more like, because I wasn't as well versed in the 90210 canon of the first season. I looked at just the episode.
Yeah.
And for that in that guideline, I thought it just about the park scene of them kind of wrapping a bow around everything, and Jason Priestley being able to show his acting chops a little bit. The actress who played Carla didn't really do anything, so I was kind of kind of interested as to like how that came about, but I thought she did okay. I thought it had some emotion to it, because like you said, JT, it was very much like a bottle episode. It wasn't the parking garage, but like the Seinfeld episode, but it wasn't like that. But yeah, you're right. And I was gonna ask you guys, like, Luke Perry and Tori Spelling, like, are they as that pushed far into the background as they are in other episodes of the season?
Yeah. So Dylan like has his moments. Like there'll be a couple episodes where he's hot and heavy featured, but for the bulk of these in this season, he's been very much a background guy. Okay. And Donna is like a very bit player at this point. Like we've only had one episode, and that was the last one where she got anything of substance. So she's getting there, but so far she's been maybe like a line an episode for most of them.
But the point is, like, it's hard to like figure out what's important to the canon because there's really not much that goes on outside of Brandon's situation. But you did mention one about Brandon and Andrea kind of being will they or won't they kind of thing that is sort of important later on. So that's a good one too.
All right, most 90s look, there's a bunch in here, but I went with the David shirt and then the Chick Snyder gear that we see in the picture.
Yeah, those jumpsuits at the end, I don't know how you get more 90s than that. Yes. I mean, setting aside some of the Chick Snyder stuff, the way that Andrea has been dressed in these last few episodes is very like they're trying to do that thing where like she's trying to dress as a young professional, like the way that a high school student wouldn't dress, right?
Right.
But because of the fact that Gabrielle Carteris is, let's say, a bit older than the rest of the cast, what they've done is they've actually just put her in very age-appropriate clothing that has been very flattering on her, to be honest, especially...
Yeah, they got to look like Annie Potts and Ghostbusters kind of thing, yeah.
Yeah. So, like, they're going for that sort of obnoxious girl bossy thing, but in a way that sort of it is very complimentary of her, I think. So I kind of like the way that Andrea has been dressed in these last few out, especially when we see her at school. Not so much the the full on pajamas that she was wearing at the slumber party, but when she's looking, pretty sharp in the the West Beverly High offices of the Blaze, she's got it going on.
What do you think, Andrew, for most 90s look?
So you said David. Is that Ian Ziering's character's name?
No, Brian Austin Green.
Okay. Ian Ziering's cocktail party outfit. Yes, that's the most 90s outfit. It is like when I would watch Inside Stuff, you would see the NBA players like outside, and that's what it looked like. That with the sprinkled like windbreaker jacket tucked in with the black shirt. It was just like, and the kind of like the nice little like curl going. It was that was 90s all the way.
All right, most 90s moment. I went with David wanting MC Hammer to play prom, and also the big 90s dance party at the rec center.
Yeah, MC Hammer is definitely up there. I mean, the Debbie Gibson cameo, just why? But why not? Yeah, between the two, I think we're tied with really just David's subplot here.
Mine is simple. Dylan ordering baggies from a catalog.
There you go.
Yeah, right, that's a good one. Yeah.
Best lesson learned. I just put stop lying about Carla. That was like the lesson I learned. Just if they would have been a little bit more direct or honest to start, like a lot of this nonsense could have been avoided.
Right. I don't think that in 1991 that's what they wanted the lesson, the takeaway to be. I think they wanted it to be like, don't judge people, based on appearances. Don't take your own blessings for granted, whatever. something along those lines. But it's really like, don't lie to your high school age kids about things this important. Like,
Right.
it's really just a bad policy.
I'll give you 3, and y'all choose which one you like the most. This is more of a lesson to people who watch this episode. Accidentally cold calling celebrities is not a real thing.
Right. Yes. It's not
That's
just, you're not going to randomly get the number of
I've
Debbie
tried
Gibson.
it. I thought I called Harry Connick Jr. and I called a different one. You can get to a better school by faking your address.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, that is true. I wouldn't recommend it though. And then this one, in the words of Brenda Walsh, people who are who they are, no matter where they came from, unless it's St. Paul.
Wow.
Which is a really mean thing to say because my mom is from St. Paul, Minnesota.
Oh shit. Brutal.
So let's strike that one off. It's the one about getting to a better school by faking your address.
I agree. All right, best hookup, really, Brandon and Carl is the only option here.
Yeah, pretty much.
Mine was David Silver and Debbie Gibson.
Oh, that's a good one.
Okay. All right.
Oh, you could see in Debbie's eyes. She wanted it.
Not a very quotable episode. Usually I have a bunch. I only had 2. David Silver's still out there from Donna. And your mom says you're getting Battleship over nothing from Jin. Like, what the fuck does that mean? Is that like a term? Like, when you go crazy, you're getting Battleship? I don't think I've ever heard
Battleship. I don't know. I had just Steve. It's really not even so much the line as it is the reaction from Scott, where he calls him Sam like twice. He's just like, "Hey, Sam." Yeah. And I don't know. We've been pretty hard on, God, what's the actor's name? Douglas Emerson, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he's, from a comedic standpoint, had some really funny, or been responsible for some pretty funny moments. I feel like bursting into the assembly at just the wrong moment.
That guy was truly like the fake Von Erich of this whole thing, huh? Who was the fake? Was it Lance? Lance Von Erich?
Yes.
That is the Lance Von Erich of this cast. Which is
Andrew,
ironic which is completely ironic for reasons I'm not going to mention.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Andrew, any quotes?
No, just the one about St. Paul got me because I thought that was kind of a funny little. I think that was in the first segment of the show, so I thought that was a nice little quip. Just 2 small observations that I thought were hilarious. First of all, and maybe it's because I'm a sports fanatic, James Eckhouse looks just like Mike Krzyzewski.
Yeah, that's not a bad comp.
And then there's the cash register at the diner says no bare feet, which made me laugh.
Well, you get a lot of surfers coming in there.
maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Dylan for starters. Yeah.
Final grade. So yeah, a big letdown after the last episode, and honestly, I'm gonna have this tied for the worst one we've seen so far, Tim. I went 3.5 out of 10, which puts it. I think it's the one where Brandon banging his girlfriend when he loses his virginity, the girl from Minnesota. So this is tied with that for the worst 2.
Okay, I don't feel so bad because I'm gonna do the same. 3.5 from me too. I kind of feel like it was the worst. I was gonna go 4, but then I was like, if you're willing to go as low as 3.5, then I will back you up.
What'd you have, Andrew?
Maybe I had 90s fashion colored glasses on. But I went 6. I went 6 out of 10. I thought the acting by Jason Priestley was pretty good, and since it was mostly like focused on him, I thought he carried it okay.
Okay.
I just thought, I mean, the Miami, I guess we're calling it the Miami Vice stuff, where it's like the man of mystery and the hovering in the background stuff. That was kind of silly and overdrawn, like Tim said. But, yeah, I mean, I guess they had some funny little 90s moments. But then again, I'm not deep in the weeds of every episode like y'all are. I'm sure there were
getting
better
in the
episodes.
weeds. Yep.
I'm sure there were better episodes than this.
Much better. Yeah. All right, let's get to our trackers real quick. Actually, before that, here's the music we didn't hear. When David's trying to call MC Hammer is actually playing Let's Go Deeper. I Like You by Culture Beat during the club. Deep Down by Debbie Gibson when David calls Debbie by accident. And that's actually it looks like.
I have to assume Debbie Gibson was promoting a new album. I have to.
Maybe. Yeah, there was something going on.
Could be. Yeah.
I mean, Fox was like the ugly redheaded stepchild of networks at the time. Like they would take any promotion they could.
I mean, there's a chance she was just a fan and like asked to be on, like that happens sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Or she was married to one of the writers or something.
Right. Yeah, or maybe she was friends with one of them.
Her singer name was Tiffany, right?
No, Debbie Gibson, different person.
Okay. Sorry.
That's okay. I don't know if an album came out in '91.
No, now you've got me kind of looking.
There was one. She released one in late '90. So yeah, that could be it. You could be right, Andrew. She had an album come out November 20th, '90.
Well, Fox was using the mainstream music, like even like the premiere of the music videos. I remember Michael Jackson used to always put the premieres of his music videos on Fox.
Right.
Like Black and White, Remember the Time, stuff like that. So that doesn't always shock me.
Yeah,
Dawson's Creek went into overdrive with that, where if you didn't have a song on Dawson's Creek, it wasn't a hit.
Right.
So apparently she had released Anything Is Possible November 20th, 1990. So that's, I mean, probably around the time this episode would have been filmed. Obviously, it aired in February 91. Right. Are there any? I mean,
no singles. Song? Yeah. I mean, it's
Deep Down was the song.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, Deep Down is track 6 on this album. So
yeah, it could have been like a promotion, or again, maybe she was just a fan, or do someone. All right, new characters tonight. We had Richard Rodriguez, Carla Montez, and Chick Snyder. Then relationships that has added Brandon and Carla, and places and things that has added Carla's house in East LA. All right, let's do our character rankings before we get out of here. So Nat and Jackie were not in, so they get the customary zeros at the bottom for not being in the episode, but everyone else was. So who do we think was?
Surprisingly, yeah.
Who do we feel is number one in this? Was it Brandon? This kind of has to be, right?
Guess so.
Yeah. Brandon, and you know, Brenda was trying to be the good sister at times.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I guess I'd probably have her second, and then
I'm comfortable
then Andrea,
with the Brenda, then Andrea.
She was kind of the next most important.
Yeah. How do you feel about the Walshes?
Yeah, I mean, this is a weird one because usually we have like everyone's in almost equal amounts, but not really in this one. So yeah, I think they're next, and then you kind of get the glut of like side characters that didn't do a lot.
Yeah, the rest of the kids.
So would you have Jim or Cindy higher?
Probably Jim, just because he has a more forceful presence in this one. Screaming at Brandon, that's got to count for a lot.
Right.
And then, Cindy right behind him. Then what do you think? Dylan's barely here.
Yeah, no, it's not him.
He's just talking at girls.
He did tip him off about the car.
He did
tip him off about the car.
I think David and Scott are next.
Maybe some combination of David, Scott, Steve.
Yeah, I think I would go that order.
Okay.
That sounds crazy, but.
Well, look, how many chances is Scott going to get to go this high on?
I know. Well, that's the end. And then probably Dylan, and then Kelly, then Donna. That sound right?
Yeah, Kelly and Donna were barely in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds right.
It's a big draw for Kelly. She was our number one last episode. All right, so that's that. Tim, while I'm compiling the overall rankings, do you want to tell everyone what's going on at the North-South Connection?
Yeah, a lot of great things here at the North-South Connection. That is where you are listening to this podcast. So if you are not subscribed, do subscribe today, where you can hear this and a lot of other great pop culture related content, mostly professional wrestling related, a lot of analysis if you're into that sort of thing. But I would say a more original slant than you may be accustomed to from other wrestling podcasts. It's not the same shit you hear on other networks where it's like, oh, let's rebook Starrcade 1989. Oh, you think they could have done the invasion better? Nah, you don't get that kind of bullshit on North-South Connection. This is more original and with personality, if you will. So do subscribe if you are not already. Look, you don't have to listen to the wrestling shows. You can just listen to 9021 NOSA if you're so inclined.
Anyway, yeah, listen to everything. Listen to everything.
Listen to everything. Just listen to everything. But look, this is part of the quad of pods associated with Place B Nation. So we also have the Place B Nation Wrestling Network for more great wrestling content, as the name would imply. We have as well the Place B Nation Pop Experience, where I have some presence, notably on Pop Goes to the Couch, where we are doing episodic reviews weekly of the Disney Plus series, not The Mandalorian, but the Book of Boba Fett this time around. Check the archives for Mandalorian. We're covering as well, sort of in spurts, you could call it, Cobra Kai, taking about 3 episodes at a time on a dedicated limited podcast series on season 4, which dropped recently on Netflix. So if you're a big Cobra Kai fan, check out Pop Goes to the Couch. And finally, we're going to be starting up, we think, episodic weekly reviews of Peacemaker on HBO Max. Nice. If you are, fan of comics, the DC Comics character from the Suicide Squad film released last summer. So a lot of action. We're going to be very busy on Pop Goes to the Couch on the Place B Nation Pop Experience. Subscribe to that today if you're interested. We have also the Jenny Position. That is the podcast network that is curated by our dear friend Jennifer Smith. Just a lot of great variety over there. Mm-hmm. Freak Out Drive-In, where we basically, that's a live watch for horror movies. You heard about Pluto, which is a live watch for, something on Pluto, the guest's choice. Just a bevy of podcasts that Jenny puts together for eclectic taste, I guess you could call it. And boy, that pretty much does it. You can connect with me on social media if you would like. I'm on Twitter at Syke68, CYKE68 on the Twitter. JT, did I forget anything?
No, you crushed it, Tim, as always. Andrew, anything you want to promote before we get going?
You know what that means with Jordan Duncan, an AEW podcast. We'll have a few more shows to talk about as we get back in it. NBA team full swing. Omicron just finally passed on, but I think it did. But trade deadline's kicking up. Getting a little bit more excited. We're at the halfway point of the season. There was one quote that I forgot to mention when you passed it to me, and I didn't mention it. It wasn't the best quote, but it was the funniest. If you want me to throw it at you.
What is it?
Okay. When Carla says, I saw those 2 servants on the other side of that cafe diner, and I didn't want them serving me because I know how it feels. And then Brandon just goes, "You mean Emmanuel and Pepe?" And I laughed so hard for about 5 minutes.
Pepe,
good old Brandon. He's on a first name basis with everyone he works with. So
right,
gotta make sure the Peach Pit is not exploiting labor like his last shitty restaurant job.
All right, let's do our final rankings here for the characters, and we'll wrap up.
All right.
Last place, we have Jackie Taylor with 13 points, Nat Basuccio with 24, Donna Martin with 39, Scott Scanlon with 52, then the big jump up to the next tier, Andrea Zuckerman with 79, David Silver with 86. We have a tie next with Jim Walsh and Dylan McKay, fittingly enough, tied at 97. Wow. Kelly Taylor at 102 takes us to our top 4, Steve Sanders with 107, Cindy Walsh with 111, and then the Walsh twins on top as usual, Brenda with 149, Brandon with 152. So all the same, we had no movement on the list here this week. Everyone, the biggest jump was that Jim tied Dylan because of Dylan's soft showing. So that's where we're at. Can't wait to win the thousands of points, Tim. I gotta do all this math on the fly.
Oh my God.
Brandon with 2,692 points. A lot of fun. All right, this was a ton of fun. We'll be back in 2 to 3 weeks or so with another great episode of 90210. Andrew Riche, Tim Capel, and JT. We're out. Have a little dim sum. We'll talk to you soon.